Chapter 10 One Last Night. Tony, Elle, and Fozzie were still awake. It was around 4 a.m. when they heard the annoying sound of an overloaded Walmart cart with 3 wheels rambling down the street. As Eric and Perry pushed the cart towards Tony's apartment, a cop turned the corner in the street a few yards in front of them, heading in their direction. Eric had thrown his jacket over the top of the cart, making it look less robbery. The door to Tony's apartment opened slowly, silently, and gracefully as Eric, Perry, and the cart glided in like nothing was amiss. The door closed quietly behind them, tension filling the air silently. Inside the apartment, everyone was aware of the cop. Elle, Tony, and Fozzie were watching and making sure everything happening looked legit. The door closed, the cop cruised by, both cops staring into the apartment as they drove, but they kept driving. They were gone. Holy fuck! Perry burst out. What happened? Juicy, Missy, dead. Elle and Tony weren't prepared to hear that. Juicy was a longtime friend of Tony, and even though Elle wasn't super close with Missy, you kind of have a bond with your significant other's significant other. Elle and Missy were decently close. Elle wasn't the co-core that Missy was, and Missy wasn't the prude that Elle was. What? Elle and Tony questioned in a duet. Eric said, long story short, they both got shot at Walmart by security guards. Perry and Eric told the story to Elle, Tony, and Fozzie. They unveiled their shopping cart full of loot and started sorting it out during the telling. They were smart in planning what to take from Walmart. There was a hiking backpack for each person, as well as a tent, sleeping bag, and solar-powered cell phone charger for each member of the group, even Eric. During the long night of packing while Eric was taking a piss, Perry explained the talk they had earlier. Eric wanted to go with them. His best friend, Juicy, was dead. They were joined at the hip. His other friend and roommate was leaving, and he had nothing. Also, Eric made a big deal that he was part of the robbery. He helped get everyone all this shit. Eric was a druggie like Perry, but he wasn't stupid. Staying in Valley Forest, you either needed to turn into an ad, and or you get to die shopping at a war store. He didn't like either option. But everyone was cool with that. Eric would be a valuable member of any group. Fozzie liked him even. He was like a black version of Eddie from the Dark Tower. A junkie, but you knew he could kick the habit and then kick ass. The rest of the night, they packed and talked. TV on in the background. The entire night, every channel was talking about the war store sale and the aftermath. There were over 10,000 deaths the first day of a war store. How big of a tragedy does that make that for the U.S.? Take all the 9/11 deaths, add in everyone who died at Pearl Harbor, then throw in all the confirmed deaths on D-Day. The first war store day killed more than all of those combined. They all turned their attention to the TV when they actually talked about something important. A super cheesy, low-ranking news reporter was on location in Valley Forest talking about the situation. The reporter reported, Valley Forest, we all know, is the closest city to the Elosa Corporation's headquarters, which is located in... I remember when they bought the 3,000 square miles a few years ago, and they began building the Elosa skyscraper headquarters. The enshrouded in mystery, like Area 51, for years. The on-location reporter continued for the anchor. It's been now rumored that the mysterious Elosa HQ is actually a war store manufacturing plant, and that they will now regularly roll out a new war store every week. The news switched to an artist's rendition of a tall, skinny building reaching towards the sky, the top of the building touching the top edge of the atmosphere nearing space. The artist's rendition then animated. The bottom of the building opening like a garage door and a war store cruising out. Like someone playing an RTS just built a new unit. The anchor took over. Every week, a new war store? Can we handle it? Can Valley Forest handle it? Everyone in the apartment looked at each other, including Fozzie. Perry interrupted the silence. A new war store's gonna be rolling out here every fucking week? Fuck that shit. We made the right decision. We need to bail. Elle thought out loud. They can't do that every week. The whole town will be fucked in a few weeks. Eric looked up from his cell phone. I'm reading on Reddit that they're creating a war store highway from their HQ to LA. We just happen to be in the way. Everyone shook their head in disbelief. After a few hours, they were done packing. Everyone had what looked like a long-term hiking backpack. Everyone had their share of food, a sleeping bag, tent, a weapon, fire starter. Perry had tons of lighters in his fear and loathing suitcase. A water purifier, fishing rod, and a Rambo knife. They even had a little pack for Fozzie. Elle loaded some dog food in Fozzie's pack for her. She was thoughtful about animals like that. The moment had come. They were leaving their homes, leaving a society of zombie-like ads, shambling around with porn blindness and giant war stores that killed thousands of people selling them products. So just before the sun rose, they hit the road. Silhouettes, off like the group of ragtag 20-something rebels they were. Leaving the block for last time as residents, there was an eerie quiet. Even the ravaged, entire wall ripped out apartment buildings were silent. As they left, Tony's landlord came running out, whisper yelling in Farsi at him again. Tony turned and gave her some cash. Perry turned and opened his fear and loathing drug suitcase to her. As it opened, it glowed in her face like the Pulp Fiction suitcase. The landlady reached in and grabbed for something. Perry grabbed her wrist and shook his head. Not that much. She took something and ran off with a devious smile on her face. Probably some opium. They hiked north on Main Street. They knew that was where the mysterious Alosa Corporation lands were. Even though it was owned by an evil corporation and its borders were fenced up like a top-secret facility, it was rumored to be mostly empty and wild. On the way north, they had to pass Treetop. Everyone looked up as they passed. It was closed. A few lights were on. That's one place I'll miss, Tony said. Yeah, I hope those fucking war stores don't destroy it, Perry added. Elle continued, I should probably call in and tell them I won't be coming into work, ever. Too bad I don't hate my job. I've always wanted to do one of those angry rage quit your job things. Yeah, Willy Wonka would love that, Eric said. The owner of Treetop Games was an eccentric billionaire that was rarely seen. People nicknamed him Willy Wonka. You want to stop in for one last game of caveman pinball, Perry said to Tony. What, you going to try to break my high score finally? Tony laughed. Shit, was Perry's only response. They all almost laughed and kept hiking towards the edge of town. Like the kids from Stand By Me, but better equipped for the apocalypse. They finally passed Treetop Games, the last building on the north side of town. Perry and Tony looked at each other. They both knew they'd be back. At least to Treetop. The conversation trailed off as their silhouettes disappeared into the forest. We'll be back tomorrow, joked Elle. They all laughed.